KMC,
HD3 Detroit,
KJAQ,
HD3 Seattle,
WBMX,
HD3 Boston, and on AOL Radio and Yahoo Launchcast. Psychic Radio is now CBS Radio's The Sky. Back to Behind the Paranormal with Paul and Ben Eno. Call now 248-545-SOUL. New skyradio.com.
What does it mean when a group of UFOs hovers over an American city, the fifth largest city in the country, off and on for years? What does it mean when thousands of people witness sightings regularly over an entire region? Is it all method, or is it madness?
Well, hey there, and welcome to the 116th broadcast of Behind the Paranormal with Paul and Ben Eno.
It's a lot of broadcasts.
Yes, it is. I'm Ben, and that was my co-host and partner in the paranormal, my dad. And our call-in numbers today here on CBS, newskyradio.com and New Sky Radio, 248-545-7685. Or if you want to be cool about it, 248-545-SOUL. Or if you're listening on a computer, you can use that epic instant feedback feature to the right of your newskyradio.com homepage as you listen live.
Okay, and I've been looking forward to this show because I believe I myself am a witness to the amazing phenomena we're going to discuss tonight. Now, first of all, before we get to our guests, we have a co-host and a guest. I want to refer you to the Talking Points page at BehindTheParanormal.com, our show website, and you'll see some amazing photographs of the Phoenix Lights, which, of course, were UFOs apparently hovering over America's fifth largest city. And also, there are some links to some videos taken by one of our field reporters, Kyle Dayton, who's with us tonight, and we're going to be discussing those as well. So, let's get right to our guests.
Oh, fun. Kyle Dayton is well known to regular listeners as one of our one of our show's top field reporters, calling in regularly to update us on the latest paranormal happenings in the American Southwest. A native of California, Kyle Dayton has been described as one of the up-and-coming stars in paranormal television. Her dad, a U.S. Marine, was a guard at a top secret facility
Doing great,
at Groom Lake, Nevada, known as Area 51. When Kyle was a year old, her family moved to Indiana, where she had numerous paranormal experiences and saw her first UFO. I remember my first UFO. Good stuff.
So what?
Wait, you do? Whatever. That's not the point of this. Over the years, the family recollected a number of times, but Kyle's paranormal experiences continued. Elsewhere in life, Kyle is a recognized expert and author on the subject of botany. She is the former co-host of the cable access television show The Cutting Edge, and is currently the host of Cosmic Chronicles, which is taped in Tucson. I'm saying that right?
Yeah.
Good. Tucson, Arizona.
You don't watch enough Westerns.
I don't watch TV at all. And shown as several access stations across the country. Her website, www.ufoshows.com/cosmic.htm.
And Dr. Lynn Kitei is an internationally acclaimed physician and health educator who pushed aside her successful medical career to pursue Phoenix Lights research and to write the book, The Phoenix Lights, A Skeptic's Discovery That We Are Not Alone, and the award-winning documentary, The Phoenix Lights, We Are Not Alone. A 1974 graduate of the Temple University School of Medicine, Dr. Lynn was a pioneer in early disease detection and prevention as chief clinical consultant of the Imaging Prevention Wellness Center at the world-renowned Arizona Heart Institute in Phoenix. Till coming forward after 7 years of anonymity as a key witness to the historic and still unexplained mass UFO sightings throughout Arizona on March 13, 1997. A real Renaissance person, Dr. Lynn, before her medical training, appeared in over 30 featured and starring roles in professional musical comedies and movies. TV Guide called her the woman pioneer of medical communications after she created and produced innovative television news health reports for NBC in Philadelphia in 1976. She dedicates herself to global public awareness, wellness, and health education. She's appeared as the resident health reporter for NBC affiliates in Philadelphia and Phoenix, and has been featured on USA Cable, Fox TV News, Fox in the Morning with Michael Juliet, ABC, CNN, and CBS affiliates, Comcast, NBC Japan, MSNBC, Dateline NBC, National Geographic TV, Travel Channel, History Channel, and now the height of her career, Behind the Paranormal with Paul and Ben Eno.
Oh.
There's much more on both of these great people, but we'll use up the whole show. Dr. Lynn's website, www.thephoenixlights.net. This says .com. I believe it's .net. She'll correct us.
Yeah, well, I'm glad you can read. Kyle and Dr. Lynn, welcome to Behind the Paranormal.
Thank you, Paul and Ben.
Hey, great to be here.
Okay, very good. We've actually managed to connect. We've had technical problems the last few weeks, but we won't talk about that. Now, Ben's got our starting questions here.
Straight up. All right, these questions are for both of you. Kyle and
you can
Dr.
take turns
Lynn.
if you like.
Yeah, knock yourselves out. You can take turns if you like. What are the Phoenix Lights and when did they start?
Dr. Lynn?
Okay, thanks, Kyle. Actually, it's when they began for me or when they began for others around the state. I have to tell you, if for anyone out there that doesn't know about the Phoenix Lights and ours, actually the mass sighting that occurred throughout the entire state of Arizona on March 13th, 1997, while thousands of people were outside looking up at the sky at the Hale-Bopp comet, a 1 to 2 mile wide formation, V formation, of lights that some people described as looking like it was attached to something or had a field in between. They couldn't quite see what it was attached to. Some people actually saw a craft, and if you go to our website, thephoenixlights.net, Phoenix Lights Network, on the photo page, there are my photos, but also we have now, after 12 years of compilation of hundreds and hundreds of reports that were consistent, we have now put illustrations. Actually, Larry Lowe has put illustrations to the reports from the UFO Reporting Center, to Village Labs, Michael Tanner and Bill Hamilton, investigators, as well as reports from the Councilwoman Frances Barwood and Arizona MUFON, all joining together. Talk about teamwork to really compile what the different crafts that people were seeing, whether it was a parade of different objects or one that could morph, we may never know, but it is fascinating to look at what people here throughout the state saw. If people want to go to the GAP page, we call Geospatial Animation Project. And by the way, the website, which is loaded with information, was done by my collaborator on the film, Steve Lance, and very talented, and I think people would enjoy just going there and taking a peek because there's so much to learn and see.
Oh, very good.
All right. How often do they appear over the city, and how many people have witnessed said event?
Well, I mean, as far as March 13th, 1997, there were thousands. I mean, they estimate over 10,000 people saw these phenomena statewide. It was for many hours. That's the other thing. There's a misconception in the media that there was one or two events. There were actually many events. Throughout starting at 5:30, I have gotten reports to actually 5:30 the next morning. I was just sitting on the plane finishing my expanded book that just is coming out tomorrow, actually, with the rest of the story since I came forward in 2004 and a lot more, which we hopefully will get into. But this fellow next to me takes a look. He says, "Oh, I saw those, the Phoenix Lights." And I said, "You did?" A really nice older gentleman. And he said, "Yes, I was working for Boeing at the time, and I was going to work at 5:30 in the morning, and we all saw it." So there you go. So it was for many, many hours, and there's a lot more to the story. I mean, it started for me 2 years before the mass sighting, and I have also taken photographs, as well as many other people, including Kylie, of these phenomena statewide, actually for centuries. It's fascinating when you get into the whole story, and I wanted to ask Kylie about that because I noticed that some of her footage was over a Native American land, which if you look at Phoenix, right in between South Mountain and the Estrella Mountain Range is the Gila River Indian Reservations. And serendipitously, and I have come not to believe in coincidence, 6 months before the mass sighting, I was requested to share my substance abuse prevention education program. I have a company that produces video and workbook curriculums on the reality of vital health issues. That's why when this fell in my lap, I really felt obliged to do the same for this vital issue. But anyway, I was asked to present 6 months before the mass sighting at their one schoolhouse, and they really don't talk to outsiders, but we got friendly. And after the mass sighting, I noted that my pictures, which I had been taking 2 years prior and 2 months prior to the mass sighting, incredible 35-millimeter pictures, seemed to be in that area where South Mountain and the Estrellas intersect, and that's where their basin is, where the Gila River Indian Reservation is. And I asked, did you happen to see those lights back on March 13th? And they started to laugh, and I said, is that funny? And they said, are you kidding? We've been looking up at them for centuries. We call them sky people, light beings. It's part of their culture. I had no idea. They welcome them. They feel that their spirit world coming to give them guidance and comfort, and they welcome them. And it's fascinating when you really look into the whole history of these phenomena, which I knew nothing about. That's when we had our close sighting in 95. Both my husband, who's also a physician, and I had a very close sighting to our mountainside home in Paradise Valley of these orbs, 3 amber orbs, and I think Kylie could relate to this, in a pyramid formation, one on top and 2 closely aligned underneath, that were about a city block away, actually under us, because we're pretty high on the mountain. And I happened to get pictures. I knew nothing about this topic at all, nothing. And had no interest, didn't even know who to show the pictures to. And then, lo and behold, 2 years later, 2 months before the mass sighting, January of '97, I happened to see the same phenomena, but at a distance. And you can see on our photo page on the Phoenix Lights Network, I caught this phenomena head on, turning into a V shape. And actually the second picture is really dramatic because it shows 5 lights in a V formation with 2 underneath. Well, hundreds of people statewide would describe on March 13th, 2 months later, 5 lights in a V formation with 2 trailing. And it was so unnerving, I have to tell you, Paul and Ben, that the next morning I called around and found air traffic controllers at the airport.
Yeah, I'm afraid to have to stop here. We've got to take a break, but we'll be right back with that. We'll talk about the air traffic controllers. Behind the Paranormal, talking about the Phoenix Lights. Be right back. Stay with us.
Psychic Radio. 24 hours a day. Reach out from beyond to your ears. On the web now. Log on to psychiconair.com. Your spiritual well-being is our concern. This is Psychic Radio. Powered online by AOL at psychiconair.com.
We know you're listening.
Rush of your skin, and I miss the still of the silence as you breathe out and I breathe in. If I could walk on water, if I could tell you what's next, make you believe, make you forget. So come on, get higher, loosen my lips, faith and desire in the swing of your hips. Just pull me down hard and drown me in love. So come on, get higher, loosen my lips, faith and desire in the swing of your hips. Just pull me down hard and drown me in love. I miss the sound of your voice, the loudest thing in my head, and I ache to remember all the violent, sweet, perfect words that you said. If I could walk on water, if I could tell you what's next,
Psychic Radio is now CBS Radio's The Sky. Back to Behind the Paranormal with Paul and Ben Eno. Call now 248-545-SOUL. New skyradio.com. Believe.
Okay, we are back, and we're talking about the Phoenix Lights. We are with our co-host and show reporter Kyle Dayton and Dr. Lynn Kitei, who was just beginning to tell us about air traffic controllers who had verified some of her sightings. Go, Lynn.
Yeah, I have to tell you, Paul, it was so unnerving when, not having the close sighting in 95 explained at all. I mean, I didn't even know who to show the pictures to at that point. And then seeing this massive, over a mile-wide formation of orbs equidistant in a line and then turning into a V shape, I started to shake. The first picture you can see, I was shaking, and I figured, look, there must be a logical explanation, and I called around the next morning and found air traffic controllers at Sky Harbor International Airport who saw the same thing at the same time, and they were amazed that I had seen it. And they looked on radar, did not show up on radar. They took up their binoculars because anyone that is within a certain radius, which is restricted airspace, and 1,000 feet below 1,000 feet altitude, has to call into the tower, and nobody called in. And here they're seeing these phenomena right in air traffic, Class B airspace, and they took their binoculars to look, and in their own words, they described them as 6 points of light that seemed to be attached to something, but they couldn't see what it was attached to, and it was massive, and it actually turned, and that must be when I was getting my pictures, and went slowly in synchrony behind South Mountain. And I said, so what was it? And there was silence on the other end, and then finally one of the fellows said, beats me. And I said, what are you talking about? You're air traffic controllers. You're professional sky watchers. You should know what they are. They had no idea what they were, and we kept in contact. I continue taking photographs of them, and there are other people that also took photographs a few days before the mass sighting, and up into including the mass sighting, I happened to catch the three lights, like a giant triangle, the three end lights of a V or triangle over the city at 10 o'clock, and I had no idea there was a mass sighting. Actually, the week before, it was getting a little ridiculous. I kept running out to take pictures of these things as a scientist. I felt compelled to document them on film, and I finally started showing them to my friends. And I have to say, and I think Kylie will attest to this, the video does not do it justice. They are much bigger. They're balls, spinning balls or pulsating balls of energy, and they're amber color. And nonetheless, in the video, by the way, they're smaller. They're white. They flicker, which they do not do in real life. But the formations, nonetheless, are very compelling. So I started showing them to my friends, and this is how close I was, Paul. And then a friend of a friend had a neighbor who had a friend who knew the past president of MUFON, Mutual UFO Network. So I gave him a call. He hooks me up with a field investigator for the following Wednesday. He calls me Tuesday to postpone. The only window of opportunity I have was for 2-3 weeks was Friday morning. The 14th, well, the night before was the mass sighting. I had no idea. I walk into his home with video in hand from the night before, and all hell had broken loose. And he mentioned, and you mentioned at the beginning, at the top, that I had done work as a health reporter and health consultant for NBC here in Phoenix, and he tells me that NBC was coming to interview him in a half an hour. I said, well, I'm out of here.
It's all well documented in your excellent book, by the way, too.
Oh, thank you.
Kyle, did you want to step in here with any questions or observations?
Well, actually, yes. It was a fantastic book. I just recently finished reading it, and it not only gets into the Phoenix Lights, but you also, I really appreciate how you cover the spiritual aspect, and you talk about near-death experiences and the possible connection between that and the contact of the higher intelligence, I guess you could say. And also I wanted to add to, with the fiery amber lights that they were seeing in the Gila Bend Indian Reservation. I live about maybe 12 to 15 miles east of the To'ono O'odham Reservation. It used to be Papago, and about 3 or 4 nights a week, on like clockwork for the last several years, these large, huge amber orbs show up, big fiery things. When I'm looking from where I'm at, from the distance, I would say they're about the size of a quarter, and we're talking 12 to 15 miles away, so they must be pretty large. They stay in the same place for 15 or 20 minutes. They show up in the same place. They're low in the sky, but they are in the sky, and then after about 15 or 20 minutes, they do blink out. So I can verify, maybe this is, I agree with Dr. Lynn that this is something that's accepted among the native tribes, especially at least a few down here, as maybe possibly spirit lights, but it's the same phenomenon that's happening in my neck of the woods. And, there's a reason that they call this area the UFO Triangle or the Arizona Triangle, because they've had sightings for decades.
Okay,
they're still unexplained.
All right, well, let's put this in perspective. I'm sorry, go ahead.
I'm sorry, the Estrellas, where these things keep showing up, like there might be a porthole there or a gateway. Well, Estrella means star in Spanish, and they refer to it as gateway to the stars.
Yes.
Well, there's a reason for these places now. Oh, yeah. Okay, well, be that as it may, now let me try and put this in perspective a little bit. Now, Ben and I talk about this a lot, but
yes,
there were, in addition to these lights over the city, there were triangular-shaped aircraft or a number of these seen around the state on the same night and off and on ever since. Is that correct?
Absolutely. That's why, people can take a look at the GAP page, GAP, Geospatial Animation Project. We've tried to compile in a very, state-of-the-art way what these things actually look like, and it is fascinating to see what has come forth as the different kind of craft, but massive craft. Some with 3 lights, some with 5 lights, and just incredible data that's been compiled to show people. And I think it's the first time that this has ever been done. So we're just releasing it now, so people can take a peek at what people saw. But yes, there were many people who also saw a craft, not just lights, but also saw a craft. Some people saw windows on the craft, and some people actually saw beings at the window.
Well, I'll tell you what I saw in a minute, but I wanted to mention one thing now. Again, on our website, behindtheparanormal.com, there is a Talking Points page. You go to that page, people can see photographs that were very kindly submitted or permission granted by both of you to use, so people can see the lights, and also a number of videos that Kyle herself took that are on YouTube and that you can link to right from our page there. Now, Kyle, I didn't have a chance to look at all of them, and we discussed this a little bit off the air, but I have to point out that, and maybe I'm sure you were aware of this when you saw them yourself, but there starting at about 1 minute in and going till about maybe 1 minute 40 of the first video, there are 2 lights, orbs, if you will, but then they're coming toward you, and you can very clearly see the fuselage of a plane, and the lights are at either ends of the wings. And then in the next shot, the plane is turning around, and it's a very strange landing light formation, but it looks like a triangular formation, and it's very clearly on an airplane. I mean, did you realize it was a plane when you were taking that? Or
yes, I did. Yes, I did, definitely a plane, but I thought the lights were unusual. In fact, they weren't blinking and stuff, and that's why I put them in there.
Oh, okay, I got you. I'm not questioning it. You've always been a tremendously great reporter for us, but and certainly very respected in your own realm. But I remember taking, I don't know, sort of. You were talking about some nut who was landing a plane on the next street or something.
Yeah, we had at night. It happened 3 times. This, I don't know if it's a high-tech plane, or I've been told it possibly is a crop duster, but it's not dusting. It's showing up after the crops are harvested, and it's some plane, a high-tech plane with 3 triangle lights on it, and it flies silently or flies with you can hear the engine. It was using the street 2 streets away from me for 2 hours as a runway between about 3 a.m. and 5:30 a.m. in the morning, and then it was going about 30 to 35 miles an hour sometimes, which I always thought that was a stall speed. That's pretty slow for a regular plane. And one of the videos that I taped that I did not upload yet, they show a car driving down the road heading east, and this plane flies right over the top of it, maybe 5 feet, 4 to 5 feet. And I thought, is this legal? And this plane was flying so low and so slow, and it was using the street as a runway. You could see as going down the street toward the west, it looked like a car with headlights driving down the road. But then when it would bank and go up in the air, I realized it was a plane. And I mean, this thing went for 2.5 hours, and it's back 3 times. I think it's the same plane. And when the sun comes up, the plane takes off.
Ben and I thought Rhode Islanders were crazy. Huh?
Yeah. Well, I'll tell you, this pilot. Yes, go ahead. I'm sorry.
I'm sorry. Are you done?
Go ahead. Yes,
you
go
brought
ahead.
up a really good point, though, and that actually is one of the reasons that I came forward from 7 years of anonymity, not only because I did extreme research and meticulous documentation and investigation at University of Arizona Optical Science Department, Consciousness Study Department, ASU Geology, Anthropology, Astronomy, Mathematics Department, Brooks Institute of Photography, and no one across the board could explain what I had. And just because we don't have the technology yet to definitively define these things, it doesn't mean they're not real. But on the other hand, as far as another reason I came forward is that when in 2004, the accepted explanation and the official explanation at that point was that the Phoenix lights were just military illumination flares. And it was so frustrating, and I'm sure Kyle can attest to this, when you know that you've seen something so extraordinary, not of this world, and our former governor just came forward last year to say the same, that he actually saw it, and it was unearthly. But it's important that we educate ourselves on what to look for, and that was the other reason that I came forward, as well as to say it's okay to talk about these things, and it's time we get this out in the open and address it and accept it and study it so we can move forward. And some of the things, we've even done some news reports here because they were sending out flares to show people the difference. So it's important to look when you are seeing something that looks strange. Look for navigation lights. If something has navigation lights, it's earthly. Okay, because everything out there from the military or whatever, aviation, has to have navigation lights. That's number one. Number two, as far as these orbs, if people see these balls that look like spinning balls of energy, and if you can grab a telescope or high-powered binoculars, it's even better. But if you see a smoke trail coming from it, it's not an orb, it's a flare, okay? Flares cannot keep a formation. They're haphazard. They drift and drop with the wind. They have huge smoke trails that are illuminated by the flare, and the flare is used. It's illumination flares to illuminate the area around it. These anomalous phenomena do not do that. They keep in rock-solid formations. They move around in ways that are just not conceivable to our framework of thinking. So the physics is definitely advanced, and there even seems to be an intelligence behind them. But it is important, and that's one of the things. And I hope that, and I appreciate you sharing the book. I mean, I really tried. I ended up with a 750-page journal, by the way, guys. Four years later. Yeah. After pushing my entire professional life aside to try to find a logical source and meaning for what I witnessed and photographed, especially after thousands of people saw the same thing on March 13th, I have yet to find it. And I squeezed the best of what I found into 220 pages just to help educate people, because I didn't know. I figured, I'm a learned person of sorts. I didn't know anything about this stuff. And hopefully it'll help other people learn about it as well. And, of course, we get into more of the connection between other unexplained phenomena if you want to get into that.
Oh, yeah, the next half hour I want to do that. We're coming up on a break, though, and I'm going to tell you what I saw when we come back with our wonderful guests, Dr. Lynn Kitei, and also our co-host, Kyle Dayton, and Ben and me. See you in a few minutes. Be right back.
All we need is candlelight, you and me, and a bottle of wine to hold you tonight. Well, we know I'm going away, and how I wish it were so. So take this wine and drink with me. Let's delay our misery. Say tonight. Fight the break of dawn, come tomorrow. Tomorrow I'll be gone, say tonight. Fight the break of dawn, come tomorrow. Tomorrow I'll be gone. There's a log on the fire, and it burns like me for you. Tomorrow comes with one desire, to take me away from the truth. It ain't easy to say goodbye. goodbye. Darling, please don't start to cry. 'Cause girl, you know I've got to go. Oh, and Lord, I wish it wasn't so. Save tonight and fight the break of dawn. Come tomorrow, tomorrow I'll be gone. Save tonight and fight the break of dawn. Come tomorrow, tomorrow I'll be gone. That I could stay. Girl, you know I got to go. Oh, Lord, I wish it wasn't so. Save tonight. Fight the break of dawn. Come tomorrow. Tomorrow I'll be gone. Save tonight. Fight the break of dawn. Come tomorrow. Tomorrow I'll be gone. Save tonight. Fight the break of dawn, come tomorrow. Tomorrow I'll be gone, save tonight. Fight the break of dawn, come tomorrow. Tomorrow I'll be gone. Tomorrow I'll be gone.
Psychic Radio is now CBS Radio's The Sky. Back to Behind the Paranormal with Paul and Ben Eno. Call now 248-545-SOUL. New skyradio.com.
Okay, we are back all right, and we're with my good son here, Ben, of course.
That's a movie.
Oh, yeah. Well, we'll talk about it.
Yeah, with Macaulay Culkin.
Oh, good Lord. Well, all right, you're better than him. Anyway,
Yeah.
and also with our co-host tonight and our faithful show reporter and UFO expert in their own right, Kyle Dayton from Arizona, and our wonderful guest, Dr. Lynn Kitei, who just wrote a marvelous book on the Phoenix Lights, and we're talking about that tonight. Now, let me tell you what I saw. Okay, and we're talking about the Phoenix Lights, of course, appearing over the city of Phoenix and various UFO flaps over Arizona for the last 13 years. And when Ben and I were flying to San Diego to do a program, and it was at night, and it was very late. The plane was jammed. You know how flight is today. It's not a pleasant experience. Poor Ben was on the other side of the plane. Asleep, blissfully. I was on the Phoenix side, and we were passing over the city on the way to San Diego, as I say. And I looked down. We were beyond the metropolitan area, and down there were very few lights on the ground, but down about, I would estimate, and it's very difficult to estimate distance at night or from the air, but I would say at about 10,000 feet. Now, I have 12 years in the military. I was a frontline serving officer, and I, albeit in the reserve capacity, and I, got some experience with this. I know what a flare looks like. These were not flares. There were three lights, and they were at about 10,000 feet, seemingly. They were absolutely enormous. They were not blinking, or there was no smoke trail. They were they were stationary, and then all of a sudden one moved to the left, or to my left, which was the far one, over there, and another one started to descend, and another one disappeared. One seemed to land, and the other one had kept moving off to the left, because by that time it was out of sight. But the interesting thing is that you described the Phoenix Lights as amber, and these were white. And so, I mean, what do you think I was seeing? Was it something entirely different, or was it the Phoenix Lights, or what was it?
Some people actually saw white lights. Some people saw amber lights.
Because the San Diego paper said the next day that they'd been seen the night we were passing over.
Mm-hmm. What do you remember the date?
I believe it was around about the night of February 22nd or February 23rd, 2007.
Well, that's exactly
I don't expect you to have that at the tip of your tongue.
Oh, 07, yeah. Yeah, I'd have to check to see if there were any other sightings here, but
I should have told you that before.
But yeah, I mean, some people did note that the lights they saw were white, and some say that they were amber. So, all bets are off. I mean, who knows? But
have there been any other?
That they were unusual for you to see, and
very much so. Yeah.
Most things can be explained, but there is a small percentage, 5 to 10%, that cannot. And again, just because we don't have the technology to definitively define these things, it doesn't mean they're not real. When you think about it, it took 17 centuries. This is pretty mind-boggling to me anyway. 17 centuries for humankind to realize that there are zillions of microorganisms all around us, even in our bodies, and some are beneficial, some are pathogens, but we've learned to live with it. Also, just in the past few decades, we've learned that there's electromagnetic energies around every living cell. Well, just because we can't see these living, tiny entities or electromagnetic energies or radio waves and so forth, it doesn't mean they're not real. I mean, we just may be looking on the AM dial for an FM frequency. Hopefully science will come on board. In fact, posted on our website, thephoenixlights.net, is a report that I just did with Dr. Paul Davies from ASU, a very acclaimed
physicist,
that now is coming around with theories that just seem so reasonable. I mean, even he's saying that it's very possible, maybe this is how we got here, that there are microorganisms that traveled on an asteroid or whatever. We know we're being bombarded by different space debris and landed on Earth, and we know now that life is very tenable everywhere, from the hot springs of Yellowstone to the frozen Arctic. That there could not just be one tree of life, like our tree of life, but there could be a whole forest of different DNA that are developing not only here but elsewhere out in the universe. So
no question.
And also I have to tell you, when you think about this too, that our one Milky Way galaxy, and who knows how many trillions there are out there, is about 14 billion years old now. The Hubble telescope has really given us so much information of late, and that our one solar system is only 4 to 6 billion years old. It's a very young solar system. So if you really think about it, there could be, and there are scientists postulating, that there could be intelligent, sentient entities billions of years ahead of us out there.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
I wanted to add, too, Dr. Lynn, my friend Lloyd Pye is the caretaker of the so-called Star Child skull.
Oh, we love Lloyd.
Yes, and he's an excellent researcher. And also, too, they've had the DNA analyzed, the mitochondrial DNA and the nuclear DNA. They were able to trace the mother's DNA to what they call a haplogroup in northern Mexico, but the father's DNA is unknown. I guess there hasn't been a DNA test that's created that has been able to read it yet.
The Star Child skull,
That's right. So just, and just to back up what you said.
There's a lot of wonders. I think that, in our own science, and that's why it's so important that science jumps on board. And once they really take this question as a serious science question, and there are scientists now doing that. I mean, certainly what I'm coming forward now in the book that's coming out tomorrow, actually, internationally, the expanded version with some data that I've kept private for over a dozen years. I never thought I'd ever share it because it's just so bizarre. But you know what? I mean, I've tried to stick with the data. I've put it out there and let people decide for themselves, everybody in their own time. There's going to be people out there that can't deal with this or don't want to deal with it, and that's okay. Everybody comes from a different background, different upbringing, different belief system. But if you just look at the data, if you just look at it, it speaks for itself. And, you can possibly learn from it. So hopefully science will come on board and really start looking at the data and analyzing it with a real eye for what we can find.
Well, that doesn't even begin to address the whole question of parallel universes. Millions of universes, not just one, and that really opens things up. And that's what we get into in our work. But let me. Okay. Yeah. All right.
Yeah. Actually,
let me begin. No, I'm sorry.
I'm sorry. That's why I came forward with the new data.
Can you give us a hint about the new data?
Well,
or like what it is? People should buy the book.
Actually, to put it very simply, it's the first. Analyzed, actually, scientifically analyzed by Dr. Bruce Maccabee, photographic evidence of missing time. And he had actually presented the case way back in 1999. And like I said, I was anonymous at that point and never thought that I'd be sharing this data. But you know what? At this point, because quantum physics is catching up, and there are physicists certainly out there that are postulating and theorizing that there are many dimensions out there, many spaces and times along with ours. Perhaps, and I hope that this data that I'll be sharing now for the first time will help take that next step to really see that, hey, you know what? It's very, very possible that there are other dimensions out there. And, if you want me to get into the whole sighting, I'm happy to.
Well, we see it day to day and working with the ghosts or so-called ghosts. I mean, it's parallel universes. It's as clear as a nose on your face once you see it.
I have pictures that confirm spirit world as well. That'll be another show.
Yeah, okay, we got lots of shows. Ben, you were going to say something.
No, I was going to say, you can't really see the nose in your face unless you really try.
That's true. Well, when you weigh as much as I do, you kind of can. Yeah. But, okay, great. We got another break coming up. But before that, I wanted to, not to rain on the parade here. I mean, this is all wonderful. But during the break, why don't we think about this? Okay, you've got some beautiful lights. But how do you go from that to the spiritual lessons that you draw from it? I mean, you can draw spiritual lessons from anything and should.
We're probably not going to have enough time to answer it, but think about it.
Yeah, when we come back, maybe we can talk a bit about that. But, it seems like kind of a jump for me. I mean, you wonder, could these be earthquake lights? Although earthquake lights are real quick. But let's think about that over the break and talk a little bit about the spiritual implications of this and whether they're justified. When we come back in just a few moments here on Behind the Paranormal, talking about the Phoenix Lights. Stay with us.
Join Mystic Radio with Rob and Alexis Wednesday at 3 p.m. Eastern and 12 noon Pacific for your free on-air readings right here on The Sky. Founder of Metaphysical Mothering, Robin will answer your metaphysical questions, and she'll channel such spirits as Michael Jackson and Mary Magdalene. Listen and call in Wednesdays, 3 p.m. Eastern Time and noon Pacific for your free on-air readings right here on The Sky. And check out Robin's Soul Spa at robinalexis.com.
CBS Radio The Sky and NewSkyRadio.com are presented only for entertainment purposes and are not responsible for choices and decisions made as a result of such advice or other information offered.
Psychic Radio is now CBS Radio's The Sky. Back to Behind the Paranormal with Paul and Ben Eno. Call now 248-545-SOUL. New skyradio.com. Believe.
That was a pretty awesome disclaimer, not going to lie.
Yeah, so what they're saying is really when the little guy in the UFO land says, hey, come for a ride, think twice. All right. We were talking about where you go from seeing these wonderful lights in the sky, how you get from there to the spiritual implications and spiritual lessons that our guest has so eloquently spelled out in her book, The Phoenix Lights. So take it away, Dr. Lynn. How do you get from the lights to the spiritual lessons?
Actually, as a physician, that was one of the other reasons I came forward. There's much healing to be had here. Many people, even though most things can be explained, have had an experience that to them is real. And when you keep it inside, and I've received thousands and thousands of emails from people that they're sharing for the first time because, if I could be a credible voice, so people will not only look at the data but also feel more comfortable in sharing their stories, then I've done my job. And one of the things that I really tried to do throughout my entire investigation, looking for a logical explanation, was also in interviewing the witnesses. And this was very telling, I have to say. And number one, in 13 years now, on the 13th, we were celebrating the 13th anniversary, there has not been not one report of harm, threat, or abduction associated with the Phoenix Lights event. That in of itself is very poignant. But one of the things that really touched me personally is when I was interviewing witnesses, a number of them shared with me that they had had near-death experiences as children that was reawakened by the Phoenix Lights event. Well, I did too. So
how do you mean reawakened? Like memories brought back, or they recurred entirely?
Were just blossomed, and they started remembering in great detail, as I did, a childhood near-death experience. And I started connecting the dots and thinking, wow, if maybe there is a connection here between all unexplained phenomena. And lo and behold, when I started looking again, I started finding incredibly compelling and credible data. In fact, there was the Omega Project, Dr. Kenneth Ring at the University of Connecticut, very detailed, 3 inches thick. I mean, it's just a book that you can't even get through. Dr. Raymond Fowler, as well as Dr. Bruce Grayson, and on and on and on, and universities around the United States and around the world were actually finding a connection between near-death experience, out-of-body experience, unexplained aerial phenomena that have a mystical light associated with the experience. And when I started really looking, and in the book I try to lay it out very simply for the reader, but what's most fascinating is not only is the experience very similar when you really look at the data, but the after effect, the positive enlightenment, the awakening that happens within an individual who experiences what I started calling all unexplained phenomena, UP, unexplained phenomena, and up, because there was such a positive transformation that took place within an individual that truly experienced an up experience, a connectedness to the universe and to the earth and to each other was recognized and really felt to the core. And also what I noted, and again, I really tried to stick to the data. This isn't just slibberish coming out of the air. I mean, this was documented over and over and over again, and still to today. I mean, I get emails all the time. People share with me the dramatic change that has happened in their life since they had the Phoenix Lights experience. And certainly we can look in the literature for near-death experience as well. But they have changed their jobs. They have changed their viewpoint, worldview. Some of them have gone into peace work. Some of them have gone into other environmental types of work, really recognizing how important it is to be stewards of our planet. And one of the main things that I think, as far as these visitations, and I don't know what these things are. People ask me, what are they? I don't know what they are, who they are, but I know that they are. And it is time we get this out in the open, and we absolutely need to address it and accept it and study it, and maybe we'll find out who's driving these things. But the one thing that's happening worldwide with these experiences is that it's waking people up, not only to their presence in a very gentle, caring way, okay, but on the other side is the spiritual. For some reason, they are tapping into the core of our being, and people are recognizing more and more through these experiences that we are spiritual beings and that we need to tap into that, and we've gotten so far away from that, and that we can make this world a better world, and we're capable of so much more positive energies and inputs. And we know even in medicine, positive and negative, not only does it affect your body, positively or deleteriously, but those around you as well. So when we start recognizing all these important, quote-unquote, spiritual points that to me are really, really, really poignant and really important to impart, and that's why I share them in the book. But there is much more to the story, as we know.
Okay. Kyle, any final thoughts here?
Actually, yes, Dr. Lynn, what I thought was very interesting, and I hadn't thought of it before, when you pointed out in your Phoenix Lights book that when a laboratory-induced near-death experience is created, the people in the laboratory experiments do not have the same kind of after effects and effects that an actual medical near-death. I mean, they don't see relatives that have passed, and they don't feel the love and all these certain things that a real NDE does. And I found it very interesting that you pointed that out, and I wanted to mention that on air. It's
Thank you. I really appreciate that, because that's true. And the main thing is that positive transformation, that positive awakening that happens with an individual that truly experiences an unexplained phenomena is just really very special and very magical, as well as very real in the people that experience it. And, hopefully science will also study that further. But it is a fascinating topic, if nothing else.
Absolutely. Ben, any final thoughts?
Not that I know of.
Okay.
Get it? Thoughts? Nope.
You're speechless. You're speechless. Well, there's so much more to this story, and I hope people do pick up the new book. It's now available on Amazon.com, and it's coming out tomorrow nationwide in the
new edition, right? Phoenix Lights, a skeptic's discovery that we are not alone, right?
Very
good.
And the March 13th gathering at the Harkin Shea Theater in Scottsdale. I wanted to mention that, please.
March 14th. March 14th.
Okay,
for anyone that's coming into the neighborhood, and I hope everybody will join us. We have been doing this for 5 years now. It's the 5th year. We have a big celebration of the anniversary at the Harkins, Scottsdale Harkins Shea 14 Theater at Scottsdale and Shea Roads, and we show our documentary, our internationally award-winning documentary, which is a whole other thing. I mean, it's like unheard of that I left the Arizona Heart Institute to finish that, and we're always sold out. So hopefully people will get to the website or Harkin's website and get their tickets, because we not only show the documentary, but we're going to have a Q&A and a book signing for the new book. And also we're introducing a mystery guest, a special mystery guest who's coming into town that I know the audience will really enjoy. So it'll be a fun
I'm sorry,
time.
ladies, we got to go. We're flat out of time, but I want to thank you both, and very, very good luck in your work, and we'll have you back definitely.
Sorry to cut you off.
Thank
to cut you
so
off.
much for having me. Really appreciate it. Bye-bye.
Okay, very good. Kyle, thanks a lot for your help today. Okay. Check our website, BehindTheParanormal.com, and don't forget to buy Dr. Lynn's book, but hey, buy mine too. Get it BehindTheParanormal.com. Subscribe to our newsletter. Comes every week. Tells you what's going on in the show. Apply to become a reporter like Kyle, who does a fine job for us.
Thank you.
And is a marvelous asset to us. We have 5 reporters right now, and you're welcome to join us as well.
And also, all of our podcasts from all our shows are available at newskyradio.com and at our website, behindtheparanormal.com.
And many thanks to our producer, Will Kosnick. See you right here next Sunday, March 7th, 7 p.m. Eastern, 4 Pacific on CBS New Sky Radio, newskyradio.com, when we will welcome Deborah Lindsay, Susan Shepard, and Dr. Steve Russell, the paranormal professors return for a surprising update on the state of paranormal education, what people are studying and where it's all going.
And in the meantime, check out our Saturday show at 11 a.m. Eastern, 4 Pacific on WOON, 1240 a.m. in southeastern New England, and on onworldwide.com. You can also hear rebroadcasts of Behind the Paranormal on Saturdays at 7 p.m. Eastern, 4 Pacific, right here on CBS Radio, Psychic on Air.
Okay, and we are done for today. I just want to leave you with a quote from dear old Albert Einstein. Our task must be to free ourselves by widening our circle of compassion to embrace all living creatures and the whole of nature and its beauty.
See you next week.